Coming up on MilCyberSync, Congress presenting a behemoth suite of information technology security improvements and policy upgrades. Also ahead, incentivizing incident reports from ransomware victims, why this strategy is good business. We'll have those stories and more, so get ready to get in sync with MilCyberSync.
You're watching the MilCyberSync podcast with Nick Thomas and Layla Guland.
Hello and welcome to the MilCyberSync podcast, reporting on the latest events happening in cyber news. I'm Layla Guland, your host. Nick Thomas is off today. And just a reminder, if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you're watching us on our YouTube channel, click on that notification bell for our latest posts. We begin with a fun event. The DEFCON Arcade Party is back. I'm joined by Christine Billingsley, Military Cyber Professionals Association's Chief Operating Officer and event organizer, to give us the details. Welcome, Christine.
Hi, Layla. Thanks for having me.
All right. So how did this idea come about for this event?
Sure. So I started this event a number of years ago when I was working for a startup. The organizers of DEFCON kind of approached me about hosting an event. And actually, I was chatting with my friend Grifter, that is kind of the brains behind this, and thought it would be really fun to bring basically an arcade party to DEFCON. So I made that idea a reality. We ship in a number of all those classic arcade games. We've got these really cool 16-person LED lit foosball tables, and just, make our own arcade fun at DEFCON. And we're excited to be bringing it back this summer for DEFCON's 30th anniversary. It's going to be happening on Saturday, August 13th, starting at 9 p.m. Over in the Track 1 space over in Caesars Forum. And the MCPA is really delighted to be hosting this great event this year with some of our great sponsors. We've got Missy and we've got the Blackson Cybersecurity.
Oh, fantastic. When I think about an arcade, I think about going to the Galleria and walking into this darkened room with a bunch of machines everywhere. So is that kind of what we're expecting?
Absolutely. We've got fun lights. We're going to have Keith Meyer DJing. So it's going to be a great experience. It's free to all DEFCON attendees. You don't need to worry about bringing any quarters or anything. Everything's complimentary. So we're happy to host.
That's good to know. I was going to ask you about the quarters. So no machines to get quarters or tokens.
Yeah, no need for that. But play as much as you'd like.
Yeah, but attendees are asked to donate to your charity. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the website about the event, you can go to arcadeparty.org, and we are always looking for donations for our 501c3 nonprofit educational charity. You can click on the button on the site to donate, so that we can bring more of these great events in the future. And we are looking for some additional sponsors for the event. So if you're with an organization and would like to get involved, please reach out to me. I can be contacted at christine@milcyber.org.
Okay, fantastic. And real quick, just one last announcement as far as location and time and date again.
Sure. So it's going to be happening in Caesars Forum in the Track 1 space, starting at 9 p.m. and it will go probably till 1 or so a.m. And it's on Saturday, August 13th. And you can find out all of the details at arcadeparty.org. Also, be on the lookout. The MCPA is also going to be hosting our third annual panel for the National Service Panel, and that's going to be in the Blackson Cybersecurity Village. So,
very good. All good information to know. Christine, I want to thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Layla.
And have fun.
All right.
Oh, one last question.
Sure.
What is your all-time favorite video game?
Oh, I guess I would say Mario Kart.
That's a good one. Mine was Burger Time from ColecoVision days, which is way before your time.
Oh, actually, I take it back. I'm a big Tetris fan too. So between the two of them.
Very good. All right, Christine. Well, thank you so much. Good to see you.
All right, great to see you too. Thank you, Layla.
Have fun. Well, in other news, the National Institute of Standards and Technology has selected several companies to guide the nation's migration to cryptographic standards that are immune to the computation powers of a quantum machine. Microsoft, AWS, VMware, Cisco Systems, and Samsung are among 12 companies NIST revealed as part of their list for their response to the agency's Federal Register notice last fall, inviting collaborators to participate in the standardization process under a cooperative research and development agreement. Earlier this month, NIST has identified 4 algorithms that will form the basis for the new standards and continue to diversify the kinds of math used to allow for greater resilience of encryption mechanisms heading into a quantum age. Officials are considering whether to keep certain industry practices in use, regardless of whether they are quantum proof. Under National Security Memorandum 10, NIST and CISA have a goal of mitigating as much of the quantum risk as feasible by 2035. At least 20 novel indicators of malware infections have been discovered as part of a barrage of cyber attacks targeting Ukraine. This has led to the U.S. military and publicly disclose a slew of malware indicators in a bid to stymie hackers and underline America's close relationship with Kyiv. The military command has acknowledged working side by side with Ukrainian Cyber Command to identify vulnerabilities and spot hackers. The United States has aided Ukrainian defense through weapons transfers and humanitarian aid. In June, President Joe Biden announced $1 billion in additional security assistance for the Eastern European country, the 12th delivery of U.S. arms since August of last year. Neither government is disclosing the threat actor behind the indicators nor victims of the malware. Google and the European Union have issued separate warnings this week over Russian cyber attacks and misinformation campaigns. According to Google, many Russian groups have been focusing on Ukraine since the start of the war, but the level of Russian activity outside of Ukraine is mostly the same as before the conflict started. The internet giant has been monitoring Russian activity, and it has disrupted some campaigns. The company recently noticed that the threat actor tracked as Turla has started distributing a piece of Android malware. Google says this is the first time Turla has been spotted using Android malware. Google has also seen at least 2 Russian state-sponsored threat groups, APT28 and Sandworm, exploiting the recently disclosed Windows vulnerability tracked as Folina. The company has also observed misinformation campaigns conducted by the Belarus-linked Ghostwriter group, as well as phishing attacks targeting government and defense officials, politicians, NGOs, think tanks, and journalists. Kaspersky security researchers have disclosed details of a brand new ransomware family written in Rust, making it the 3rd strain after Black Hat and Hive to use the programming language. It's called Luna and is, quote, fairly simple and can run on Windows, Linux, and ESXi systems. Advertisements for Luna on darknet forums suggest that the ransomware is intended for use only by Russian-speaking affiliates. Its core developers are also believed to be of Russian origin, owing to spelling mistakes in the ransom note, hard-coded with the binary. Black Basta is also notable for starting up a Windows system in safe mode before encryption to take advantage of the fact that third-party endpoint detection solutions may not start after booting the operating system in safe mode. Lockbit, however, remains one of the most active ransomware gangs of 2022, often relying on RDP access to enterprise networks to disable backup services and create a group policy to terminate running processes and execute the ransomware payload. More than 1,200 amendments have been added to the House of Representatives' National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2023. The recently passed bill includes a variety of technology and cybersecurity issues impacting the federal government. From further formalizing the government's newest cybersecurity agency with directorial term limits to establishing the National Digital Reserve Corps, the current NDAA features a suite of information technology security improvements and policy upgrades. Lawmakers hope they will find their way into the bill after the House and Senate versions are hashed into a single bill in a conference committee. Among them, an amendment from Representative Chrissy Houlihan of Pennsylvania directs the Veterans Affairs Secretary to establish a new pilot course for veterans and their spouses around cybersecurity training. Meanwhile, Representative Tony Gonzalez of Texas wants to establish the National Digital Reserve Corps, a public-private partnership featuring a range of experts across the fields of cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and digital technology to work within the federal government. The Department of Labor is promoting registered apprenticeships as a way for industry sectors to train skilled cybersecurity workers with a 120-day sprint. Together with the White House Office of the National Cyber Director, Department of Commerce, and other agencies, DOL will recruit employers, industry sector associations, labor unions, educational providers, and community-based organizations to join or launch registered apprenticeships through National Apprenticeship Week running in November. Registered apprenticeships are career pathways often for underserved communities where employers offer future workers pay, mentorships, classroom instruction, and a nationally recognized credential. The hope is to fill nearly 700,000 open cyber jobs nationwide. Well, before I go to break, if you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, click on that notification bell for our latest posts related to everything military cyber and cybersecurity. When we come back, the U.S. government seeking a more cohesive integration and strategy to combat cyber warfare. After the break.
Today's network and security monitoring solutions are vulnerable to overload situations that lead to decreased visibility and undetected intrusions. Monitoring applications require hardware to keep up with real-time traffic analysis, making it complex and costly. Your security monitoring solutions may be unable to keep up during cyber attacks or traffic spikes, making intrusion more likely. A new approach is needed to increase network protection and visibility. Axellio simplifies and streamlines your network monitoring for critical security, network, and application analysis. Learn more at axellio.com.
Welcome back. It was a busy week for Apple. Computer users running Apple's flagship macOS and iOS devices received a rollout of patches for at least 39 software vulnerabilities haunting the macOS, Catalina, iOS, and iPadOS platforms. The patches provide cover for numerous gaping memory safety flaws, some serious enough to expose users to remote code execution attacks. Apple's advisories did not contain any language warning about in-the-wild zero-day exploitation of these vulnerabilities. Cupertino is urging iPhone and iPad users to pay urgent attention to the iOS 15.6 update because of the risk of serious hacker attacks. Apple also shipped security fixes for bugs in watchOS and tvOS. A Senate committee has requested annual briefings on the relationship between U.S. Cyber Command and the National Security Agency. Cyber Command has been co-located with the Department of Defense under single leadership. The arrangement, though temporary, has drawn criticism. Opponents of the arrangement cite the outsized power of one person leading both organizations and relying on intelligence infrastructure and tools which pose risks, such as espionage activity. Those in favor of keeping the arrangement argue that Cyber Command benefits from the tight intelligence linkage and also still isn't ready to stand on its own. General Paul Nakasone, who leads both organizations, testified before Congress in March that his organizations are still working towards a balance in oversight and management. Meanwhile, the Senate Armed Services Committee wants a strategy and more coherent integration of cyber and electronic warfare effects in military operations. There are significant similarities between cyberspace effects and electronic warfare, especially in the tactical sphere of battle. The Army, as well as the Marine Corps, have deployed tactically focused forces to exploit these capabilities and similarities, primarily through what we know as radio frequency effects. This is essentially cyber effects that exploit Wi-Fi or other wireless electronic systems using proximal or close access forces. Contrast that with what U.S. Cyber Command does primarily, which is Internet Protocol-based cyber operations conducted remotely. The bill wants the DoD to develop recommendations regarding command and control, deconflictation and coordination relationships and processes between combatant commanders and the Cyber Command. The White House plans to consult with leaders of the rail industry next month on a new cybersecurity directive. Deputy National Security Advisor for Cyber and Emerging Tech, Ann Neuberger, says all the rail CEOs and the country will be invited to Washington for a classified briefing to pursue similar directives as those outlined for the pipeline sector. However, the industry has complained the pipeline directive is too rigid. The Department of Homeland Security's Transportation Security Administration is relaxing its enforcement of requirements for the sector, while White House officials have asserted a lack of authority for mandating similar rules for other providers of critical infrastructure. The Justice Department will return an estimated $500,000 it seized from money launderers based in China to victims of ransomware attacks attributed to North Korea. It's part of a new strategy that prioritizes incentivizing incident reports from victims, which can create a virtuous cycle of prevention versus issuing indictments that tend to fizzle out given the global nature of the ransomware enterprise. The Justice Department's National Security Division says the reimbursement to these victims of the ransom shows why it pays to work with law enforcement. In this particular case, law enforcement says because of this approach, they disrupted the activities of a North Korean state-sponsored group deploying ransomware known as Maui. The strategy is two-pronged. Officials hope to give victims weighing the decision more reasons for choosing to report any ransomware payments, some of which may violate U.S. sanctions if recipients are associated with nation-states like North Korea, Iran, or Russia. And finally, the Military Cyber Professional Association's Order of Thor goes to Philip Niedermayer, Managing Director of Alliances and Development at Ward & Berry PLLC, Christopher Cleary, Principal Cyber Advisor to the Department of the Navy, and Joe Billingsley, Director of Strategic Engagement at the National Defense University and founder of the Military Cyber Professional Association, presented the honor. Over the last decade, Niedermayer has supported the National Cyber Mission to solve the massive cyber job gap and for bringing diverse groups together to address the nation's cyber challenges. The prestigious Order of Thor Medal recognizes great service and contributions to the American military cyber community. Being inducted into the Order of Thor is a recognition of members of the military community who have made considerable contributions and embody the Military Cyber Professional Association's values of loyalty, duty, and excellence. Congratulations to him. Well, we want to thank you so much for watching. If you're in the car listening and would rather watch, well, be sure to check us out on our YouTube channel. Find us at Military Cyber Professionals Association or MilCyber.org for all content related to all things military cyber and cybersecurity. And make sure you like and subscribe and click on that notification bell for our latest posts. Well, that does it for me. I want to thank you so much for joining. We'll see you again next week.
This has been the MilCyberSync podcast, brought to you by the Military Cyber Professionals Association. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast app, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you're watching us on YouTube, click on the notification bell for our latest posts.